Welcome into Target Score Postgame Live, the first edition, a soft launch. I'm Joey Slattery, and we've got Vic Selby from Winnipeg Sports Weekly. Vic, man, this is awesome. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and we just decided yesterday we're going to do this.
Yep.
We're going to get it done, built the assets, and here we are. And, you know, it's a positive note to start our first show. We've got a win. But, hey, man, just thanks for coming along. How are things with you?
Yeah, really good, man. Thanks for having me. You know what? I'm glad we're starting this off on a positive note. It really did not look like it about halfway through this game here. It was a scary one, but yeah, big win for the Sea Bears, and you know, they all count, right?
Yeah, and one thing I'll say is bear with us as we go through. This is a first-time thing, so there might be a few bumps along the way, but it's a 198 win for the Winnipeg Sea Bears. A lot of it is kind of the same old song. I mean, I don't want to start on a negative note, but one of the big things was, you know, they've had struggled to start on the road all season. This was no surprise or no difference. You know, Edmonton got off to a quick start. I think it was like a 15-6 start before, you know, Winnipeg had to call a timeout. Took Teddy like 6 minutes before he got a field goal. That totally changed. But it was a long time before Teddy got his field, which just happens from time to time with Teddy Allen, even at home. The other part, Vic, is the ends. Like this is an area too where they find themselves in tight games, and they've lost a lot of these tight games on the road because of giving up offensive rebounds or, you know, losing those one-on-one battles. And there was a moment, Vic, where I thought, they're letting them creep in. And when they got to that 98 point, you know, I'm thinking they better capitalize on this possession. And even that last possession was helter-skelter. But your thoughts on the finish on that one, just how much they had to battle back and then almost giving it up at the end.
Yeah, honestly, like even in target time there right at the end with, you know, three away from the target score, it still felt like that was a must-score possession. Like it almost felt like if we didn't score on that possession, we weren't going to win the game. That was just kind of how it felt. You know what? Overall, yeah, I agree with you completely. It was eerily reminiscent of some of the earlier away games in the season that you just would really want to have back. Even though this team's 10-5, for me, I still look back at games like the Scarborough loss and just think, oh, like that's one they could have had for sure. And you know what? It really felt like it was going to be that one. And what I think's been so weird about the difference between away and home games for this team this year is just how big of a disparity there is on the defensive end of the floor. When, you know, usually that's the kind of thing you'd think would be a little bit more consistent at different places. But, you know, like giving up that many points in the first half, luckily they were able to really lock it down in the second half. But and I think, honestly, that was probably the biggest change.
Well, and let's, before we even jump the gun, because I had messages about this too, and I'm sure you did as well. Xavier Moon didn't play today. We all had our fingers crossed, but it just didn't work out. Again, this is not a Sea Bears thing. You know, I had someone ask me, is this him being a prima donna? That is not the case at all. You know, I've been to almost, not all, but a lot of practices. I've talked to Xavier Moon quite a bit. This is a guy that's motivated to play, particularly tonight. I think the biggest hurt for me on this one is the fact that he wasn't able to have his debut, the storybook debut in Edmonton, the team that he played for, right? And I know the fans in Edmonton would have been rattled too, because, you know, they want to cheer him and then boo him, you know. And I know there's a little bit of rigidity with him and Jordan Baker after the comments that were made. And I know even he was telling me before this one, he said, I have a folder with everything everyone has ever said that I look at for motivation. So he was motivated for this one. Talked to him today. He was disappointed not being able to play in this one. So fingers crossed. Based on what we know, Vic, he should be in the lineup on Thursday, which is the home and home. So it's kind of like the silver lining debut. It's still against Edmonton, but at home. But I think that'll be just as exciting. As much as he would have liked to play there, I think the downfall is that it's the last game in Edmonton, unless you know, things really hit the fan and they have to play a playoff game there. But I think him playing at home is almost I call it a silver lining, but I know fans in Winnipeg would be stoked to see him starting at home against his own team. I think it's like, you know, a 1B situation.
Yeah, 100%. You know, obviously we would have all loved to see him playing tonight, but you know what? On Thursday, it's still against his former team. We still get that, and it's at home. I think for Sea Bears fans, you know, being able to hear that introduction, assuming he starts which I would assume is going to be the case, it should be a heck of an ovation. And honestly, I think it might even be better making his debut at home. And the fact that he can still do it against his former team, I think is going to be awesome. I think that a lot of fans earlier today, when they saw him posting stories of him in Edmonton, and I even got a message. He posted a picture of him eating some Nando's, and I got a message saying, "We don't have Nando's in Winnipeg, do we?" Like, Edmonton. And I Googled it. I was like, "Is there a Nando's location in Edmonton?" Yeah, there is. Of course, there is. So I think a lot of people, myself included, thought, "Okay, it's looking pretty good about playing today." Unfortunately, it wasn't able to work out. But I'm confident we'll see him soon. Like you said, I don't think either of us have any information that points in an opposite direction. We're definitely hopeful that he makes his debut on Thursday, and I think, God, what an occasion that's going to be.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, I see there's a few viewers tuning in. Welcome in. This is the first ever edition of Target Score Post Game with myself, Joey Slattery, host of the Target Score Winnipeg podcast, CBL, voice of the Sea Bears, play-by-play CBL reporter on CBC. And then we've got Vic Selby, local legend, Winnipeg Sports Weekly. You are, dude. I'm putting it out there. It's on the record now. Joining here in our first episode. Thanks for joining along. Our buddy Dylan saying, gritty win. Very much so. It was a very gritty win. If you missed the start of the show, that's what we were talking about. A lot of the familiar problems still crept in, but they came out with a W, and it was a big one, and it was a historic one as well. We have a big game from Teddy Buckets again. It's funny at the start of the year, it was a little bit slow, and he'd have these slow starts. And I remember saying he's going to have some 30 bangers, right? Like he's going to have some 30 points, 40-point games. It's just a matter of time. And now he's just rolling them out like it's candy. And this was a slow start, as we alluded to. This is a guy that took 6 minutes to get his first field goal, and he still ends up with 37 or 35 points. That's an error on the banner that you see, but 35 points, 7 rebounds, and he was nearly 50% from the field. And the craziest thing, Vic, 1 3-pointer.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Like he was just doing it. Like you talk about gritty win, like he was scoring in every which way, but he didn't have to bury a bunch of threes to get it done.
And it just felt like the quintessential Teddy Allen game in some ways, and in some ways the complete opposite. I mean that in the way that, towards the end of the game, just looking at the box score and seeing he had 35, it was just like, what? Like, it didn't feel like he had that at all. But how many times have we felt that way this season, where it's just like, how many does Teddy have? And then you take a look at the half, and he has 22 in the first half. Okay. He's just, there's so many times watching the Sea Bears play this season, and every time we've seen him on the floor, where you just think, this is a guy who was put on this planet to put the ball in the hoop.
Well, he's called Teddy Buckets for a reason, right? And I think what sticks out to me is just like when they need him most, that's when he steps up, right? And at the start of the game, they're kind of finding their footings. It's a little flat, and I'll reiterate this. It's something that they really do have to address, moving forward. Thankfully, they have a lot of home games. It was a front-ended road schedule for the Sea Bears. But, here's a guy in the post-game too, and I wish I could bring it up. It's not up yet. But the one thing with the post-game interview, Sarah Ryan, the sideline reporter in Edmonton, asked him, like, this must be fun. And he's like, yeah, like it is fun. And, he alludes to the grittiness and that it was a bit of a slow start, but, giving credit to his teammates as well. And, if you tune into the Target Score Winnipeg podcast, we've talked about this quite a bit in terms of just the difference that he brings to the Sea Bears this time around from the initial Teddy era. He's a little bit more team driven. He's a little bit more laid back, not worried about the accolades. Like people keep bringing this up. And in fact, I don't know if you heard it, but when she was going out, she called him MVP because he gave a shout out to someone at the end. She's like, yeah, the MVP can do that. He's not the reigning MVP, right? Like now the conversation, I think, with this game here, is with the 35 points, the way that he's done it, and I don't know how many games now he has. He's the fastest player to get 1,500 points in the CBL. It took 59 games. That's nearly 26 points a game that he has scored in his career in the CEBL. He didn't play last year, which is the other crazy thing. So he comes in 35 points, and I think he's now thrust himself to the front without a doubt in front of Miles Powell, despite Powell having a great game. We'll get to the out-of-town scoreboard in a second, earlier today, and another win. But, and the reason it sticks out to me, Vic, is because the one argument for Miles Powell, and this, again, is no disrespect to Miles Powell out in Scarborough. He's doing great big things. But he's got a lot of target score winners, right? And the Scarborough Shooting Stars have had a lot of games where they've come from behind in target score time, and he's hitting those target score winners. Teddy's not. Yeah. I'm going to make the argument, Vic, that works in Teddy's favor, because in this game, Teddy is the guy who found that corner pass to Isaiah Osborne that led to the foul shots to win the game. He's giving up 4 shots to set up his teammates for easy shots. And now Isaiah Osborne has 3 target score winners with the Winnipeg Seabears since he's joined the team. I think he's only played 6 games. So half of the games he's scoring the target score winner. But to me, tonight was a quintessential new Teddy game where he's still scoring. But when it comes down to the wire, it's the best shot. He's not forcing the shot. He doesn't want to be the hero. He's just making the right play.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And you know what? Like, while he didn't play last year, I think that he grew a lot over his year in Rio Grande, having an awesome year there in the G League. And you can just see it. Like, this year, I feel like he has, something that we talked about with Steph Curry for so many years. I know that's super high praise, but is just his gravity that he has on the floor, the amount of attention that he demands from the other team. I think that's one thing that helps us out so much in target time, where, yeah, he might not be getting the target score winner, but the amount of attention that he's drawing, just being out there, whether he has the ball or not, you can just see the lanes and the opportunities that it creates for other guys. I think he's been absolutely huge.
Well, and I think too and I just wanted to point out our friend Tyler Penner pointing out that he gets robbed of the assist on Osborne's winner because of the technical. But see, and yeah, it's a downfall. But at the end of the day, I think, for the voters out there, and this is where I really hope they're watching these types of games, right, and not just going by stats, because even though he might not be credited with the assist, that play develops because of the play that he makes. And it was not a pretty play. I mean, the ball was knocked around. Acott had to, didn't dive on the floor, but there was a lot of slapping at the ball at the floor to get it back, getting it back into Teddy and out. Yeah, it's too bad that he got robbed of it for sure. But I do think that, he's a guy that, again, doesn't get the love that I think he should get when it comes to everything else he does really well. And I think today was a day where we saw it, right? It didn't have the defensive game that we were used to seeing him. But again, more often than not, he's making things happen defensively. He did it a few times tonight, not to the level that we're used to seeing him now. But this is a guy that I always say, and I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but not by much. If he wasn't Teddy Buckets, if he didn't have the name Buckets beside his name and was glorified for the scoring that he does, we'd probably be calling him a defensive specialist. And that's, for me, is where it's kind of unfair, because he does so much well, but we always talk about the scoring, and it was evident again tonight. But his consistency's been good. His shot selection's been great. And I want to move on to Acott now, because Emmanuel Acott had a great game. He's had, since he came back from surgery, it was a little bit, or not surgery, rather injury. No, it was a little bit slow. He was kind of getting us back into his rhythm. And today he really stepped up, because they're not in a position to win if he doesn't have his 23 points, those 6 boards to go with it. And again, talk about efficiency, nearly 70% from the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think same thing for Eman, as you were saying with Teddy. Like, the defensive improvement has been just remarkable. I think that's Eman's been putting the ball on the floor. He's been creating shots. He's been doing a lot on the offensive end. But it's the defense too. He's been awesome. He's been locked down. But yeah, like today, absolutely. He was making shots that just when nobody was making shots, he was doing it. He had a really, really tough 3 that he made in the third quarter that it just felt like one of those, like, man, we need this to go in. And it did. He was just making stuff happen the whole game, both ends of the floor, and just, yeah, absolutely huge for him to step up. Today was one of those games where it just, watching the Seabears, it just felt like they're missing a bit of organization, missing a little bit of that. And while Eman isn't necessarily an organizer, I do think that he was just such a creator in a way that this team really, really needed him to be tonight.
Well, one of the things the color commentary guy pointed out too, right, was every time he was hitting a shot, he was talking to somebody. He's either talking to his bench or the other bench. Like, the one thing you can't say about Emmanuel Acott is he's not an intense competitor. He's always talking. He's always firing himself up. He's celebrating the big plays. He fires his guys up, and I think that was a big one there today. I just want to point out, probably going to see a lot of Dylan here, but TSW, WSW, this is what dreams are made of. Winnipeg is blessed today. I love the support, Dylan. I love it. Yeah, this is if you missed it earlier, Vic with Winnipeg Sports Weekly. I'm with Target Score Podcast in Winnipeg, and we are collabing here for the post-game show on Road Game. So make sure that you have your subscriptions on. Give it a like, give it a comment. We'll try to highlight as many comments as we can throughout the show. And thank you all for tuning into our inaugural episode of Target. I was going to say Target Score Winnipeg. Target Score Winnipeg post-game live. Post-game live. It's a new thing that I got to get used to here. So it's I thought Acott was just, was a real spark plug tonight in the sense that Teddy wasn't getting going. And I do think it allowed to get Teddy going. It's kind of like hitting in baseball. They say sometimes it's contagious. And I think he started the contagion. I don't know what the word would be there, but he's the one that got it going. And I think once you had that kind of stress off the shoulders, Teddy could play a little more relaxed, and they inched their way back. Because really, Edmonton led the whole, I'd have to check the stats again, but they led most of the game. And it wasn't until the fourth quarter where the Seabears really got their lead. But, that grittiness that we saw was just making sure it never got out of hand. They never got down, gave themselves a chance to win at the end, and they pulled through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why, if there was, there's a lot of takeaways from today's game. I think if I was a Seabears fan, or which I am, I would not be worried about this one. I understand that it was an ugly one, but you know what? When you see things like the resilience this team showed, the fact that they were able to play, in my view, quite a bit down from their level tonight for pretty much the whole game, and still keep it close, just keep clawing back. There was never quit in this team. And then you see at the end of the game with the Target Score winner, guys are elated. You've got Xavier Moon, who hasn't even played for the team yet, hopping in on Teddy's post-game interview and yelling. You know what? There's a really good culture and a good feel around this team right now. And I think that is why it is, I think that part is just so integral and a huge part of why they were able to gut out a win like this.
Yeah, I just want to highlight this one too, because Dylan's saying he thought TA might have shot the tech. And it's funny because if there is a choice, I don't think he'd be upset with that. It was Isaiah who took the shot, should go up and shoot it, all good, right? I know people hate when games end on foul shots, but you still have to hit the foul shots, especially a game like today where you were struggling to score most of the game. It's probably feeling a little heavier for Isaiah Osborne in that one, but he got it done, and that's all you need at this point. So now that's the big thing too, is they're now in first place solely. There's no more tie. There's no more tiebreaker. They have the similar record to Vancouver going into this one. And now, so Vancouver lost today. So they're now down to 9-6. Winnipeg is 10-5. So now that puts them into sole position of first. It also gives them a little bit of breathing room. They're a full game up on Vancouver, and they keep Edmonton away. And, not to focus too much on Edmonton, but we do have to look at the Edmonton side of things of this game. I think if you're Jordan Baker, you're a little upset that you blew this one because, it would have been a huge win. I think that would have been their fifth win in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
In a row. Yeah.
Right. And this is a team, even last year, they had 6 wins in a row to get into the playoffs. So opportunity missed for the Stingers, because that would have brought them to within, would have put them in the conversation a little bit more, but they would have had 8-8 would have been their record. So they would have had a game on Saskatoon, and then they're right on the doorstep for second place. And then they could start thinking about hosting a playoff game. Now there's a ton of time left. It's not like they're out of it completely. And they did play well, for a good portion of this game, for a team that's still I would say they found their identity now, but they've gone through a lot of big changes. They lost Dane Danger, who was their biggest scorer. Isaiah Moore went to Ottawa. So this is a team that's still looking for who their guys are. And they've got the glue with guys like Nick Hornsby, who, played really well. Hornsby ended up with 17 points. Where's his rebounds here? Only a couple rebounds and 3 assists. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong one. So he had 6 rebounds and 6 assists. That makes way more sense. And 16 points is what he ended up with. But, to me, he's such an important player for Edmonton, simply because he's the guy that carries the culture and the tradition. Here's a team that has turned a lot around. They lost some key players. I know Xavier Moon hasn't played in the league for 5 years, but that was a guy they thought would have come back. Yeah. They lost Sean East to Brampton. So this is a whole new team. And the only kind of mainstay is Nick Hornsby, which also I thought that he played with Jordan Baker, but no, Jordan Baker has not played with anybody on the Stingers. There was a year difference, so he only joined when he started coaching. But but I thought he played really well, and he caught Winnipeg snoozing a couple times. He had a couple of baseline drives that just miscommunication on defense, and that's what really kind of blew my mind a little bit is, they're such a defensive team. They're one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team in the league, the Winnipeg Sea Bears. But tonight, like it wasn't there. They had a lot of weird mental lapses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. I think that's been kind of the Sea Bears calling card all year. Obviously, the offense has been better than we've seen in previous iterations of this team. But for me, it's been the defense that's been so absolutely huge. While the Sea Bears have so many guys who can score and do a lot of things offensively, everybody can guard. And so for tonight, it was really, really, it was weird to watch. It just felt like Edmonton was getting a lot of easy buckets in that first half. And, it just felt like every time that we scored, they were down the floor, getting a shot attempt up in 5-6 seconds, just really getting down there and kind of catching us napping a little bit. So it was an interesting one to watch. Not the kind of thing you'd really expect to see from the Sea Bears, but I think whatever was in that halftime team talk there was beneficial for him because they really turned it around in the second half. And I think that third, fourth quarter, I remember looking down and seeing like, oh wow, they really have not scored much in this second half. I think that once the Sea Bears started really playing their game defensively, then it just was kind of a matter of slowly ticking away, and eventually getting the win.
Yeah, and just to take a look at the scoreboard around the league, Vancouver on national TV, like the first national game in forever, it felt like. Second one on CBC since the start of the season, and we're already past the halfway point. But Vancouver at home, going through their distractions. Kyle Julius, their head coach, no longer with the team as from a head coaching capacity. He will remain as GM at least for the rest of this year, but he's already in China as he accepted a contract there, and he's going to be coaching out in China. So they have their assistant coach stepping in, and I mean, he had 2 wins to start off, but now he's lost a couple of games too. They fall to 9-6. They lost 92-84 to a Calgary Surge team that only had 1 win this season, which is funny because their 2 wins are against Brampton when Brampton was still like at the top of the East, and Vancouver, who was tied for top spot, and they get their second win. And the craziest part, dude, is they did it coming back from Whitehorse playing. Was it yesterday? Or was it? Yeah, no, Saturday, right? No, Friday. When was that game? Now I can't even remember. It might have been Friday.
I think, but just like in Vancouver too. Like
it's wild. And Vancouver's not an easy place to play, and like especially that game. As much as the standings aren't anything, I'm pretty sure the last time Calgary was there, at least the last time they played on national television in Vancouver, I was there. It was the craziest game I ever been a part of. Like it was the most hostile environment, and fans were PO'd. And I thought for sure. I thought Vancouver was going to come out with a vengeance. But again, not all the players that were on last year's team are there. Like a guy like Mitch Creek isn't there. And Dwayne Notice is really like the highest tenured player, Shamar Givens as well, were on that team last year. But they fell flat. Like I thought there were times where they were going to, kind of put pedal to the metal and get some separation, but they really didn't do anything and allow Calgary to just find their way. Armani Chaney had a great game in that one too. We won't get too much into it, but Armani Chaney's been a huge blessing for that team from the point guard position. And I feel happy for that guy because if you remember Armani Chaney, he didn't leave here because of any ill will by any stretch. It was just, you can only have 6 imports on the team. You can only dress 5. And, with Xavier Moon coming into the fold, and Trey McGowan's playing as good as he did. They're stacked at point guard particularly, and he was just the odd man out. So I'm really happy to see him getting his time in Calgary, but doing a huge solid for Winnipeg. Giving a solid to his old team helps them get the win for Calgary, which means Vancouver falls into second place. And I have a feeling, though, in that game, Vancouver might take it to him in Calgary when it's not on national TV. I think that's a little bit of an embarrassing loss just based on the way Calgary's season has gone. But now we've got a big one here for the Sea Bears because they snuck out with one in Edmonton, and they can have a real chance to, put, I don't want to, glorify it, but it's kind of an opportunity to put Edmonton kind of out of their sights, really, because then you would have, 3... I think all 3 games they played them this year, they would have won. So if they can get that win on Thursday, but a big opportunity there too, is now you're starting to look at playoff positioning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's an opportunity for Winnipeg to kind of set the 2 tiers of the Western Conference. Just kind of saying like, it's us, it's Vancouver, and then it's everybody else. I think that's the big opportunity for them on Thursday. I think that a lot of Sea Bears fans have kind of just been waiting for Vancouver to slip up honestly. Like it just kind of felt like for a while there, they just kind of kept chugging along, and then even losing Kyle Julius during the suspension there, they still kept winning games. It was just like, okay, when are they going to drop off? Like, when are they going to slip up? And so, definitely a huge win for Calgary, but honestly, a big one for Winnipeg as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight Tyler's comment here. Calgary knocking conference leaders down from playoff hosting spots. Montreal's a game back of Brampton for second in the East. Mm-hmm. Edmonton and Saskatoon only 2 games back of Vancouver now, and that's a great point. Just taking a look at the standings here. So the top is the Eastern Conference. You're not going to see it because of the weird website style, but Scarborough is rolling. I at this point, I mean, there's only 10 games left. It would take an epic collapse or an epic losing streak. I think this one would have been a big one if they lost tonight to Brampton, or today to Brampton.
Really came close to doing it too.
Right.
Brampton looked really good. It was just kind of a disastrous target time and fourth quarter overall, and just kind of feels like an opportunity lost, and probably clinches the East for Scarborough.
And the other thing that I said about Powell, about his target score winnings, the other thing is he's the best player on the best team, right? That is just an offensive juggernaut, great rebounding team. I keep saying I'm really upset that they're not coming to Winnipeg this year. The only time we would see Scarborough is if Winnipeg got to the finals and Scarborough got to the finals, which is it would be awesome. It'd be popcorn, but I was just a little disappointed that we don't get that regular season meeting. Like, it'll just be like for all the marbles, essentially. But yeah, you look at the East, like Brampton. I think they started 6-0. And now they're set like 2-7 in their last 9 games. And they've lost some key guys to Summer League. That's where Winnipeg is very lucky. I don't think we've lost anybody to Summer League, which is kind of funny because that was like the whole Mike Taylor thing. And the Mike Taylor era was trying to get guys not going to Summer League. And the year we've not talked about Summer League is the year no one has gone to Summer League. So, that's great news for Winnipeg. Vancouver has some guys gone as well. Edmonton does not. Saskatoon has at least Jalen Williams gone, and Calgary, as I said, kind of outside of the picture. East is really tight, though. Going back to what Tyler was saying, I keep saying, like, do not count out Montreal and Ottawa. Like, those are 2 great records to be in 3rd and 4th place. Like, just to speak to how strong the East is this year. 7 wins for Montreal and Ottawa. Ottawa's played 1 more game. It was a loss, so they are in 4th. But those are 2 teams I do not want to be playing in the playoffs if I'm in the East right now. And luckily for Winnipeg is they don't have to deal with these dudes too much. And they've got I think a better understanding of the teams they play more in Vancouver and Edmonton. So, for me, I think it's, Winnipeg is in a good position, but the East, it's almost like, and maybe it's Vic, it's because we watch it a lot. Like, we're watching way more West games, or at least we're more tied to it because there's more in what we're covering. But it just seems like you can almost pick who's going to win. You almost know who's going to win the games unless there's like a complete meltdown, right? Like, even in this one with Winnipeg, like, you kind of assume Winnipeg's going to win. Got a little close, but they still get it. And like the teams that are dangerous, like Edmonton is dangerous. Calgary, hasn't been. Like, again, it would take a really bad game for Winnipeg, I think, for Calgary to do that, or to take a game from them. But at the end of the day, I feel like in the East, like, from day to day, other than Scarborough, like, anybody can win, including Niagara. Like, and Niagara, I think, is, at this point of the season, it's kind of late. I think at the end of the day, they just got to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
nobody wants to play them either in the playoffs if they sneak in there.
Well, that's it. And like, if they, like, even if you're Scarborough, like, my big concern with Scarborough right now is they are not very battle tested. Now, let me give them credit. They've won some games. They've had comebacks, especially early on in the season. They battled like in-game adversity, but they've always come out on top. And my thing is like, I'd almost want. I remember Trey Scott. It was the last Vancouver game that they lost, and I was interviewing Trey, and Trey Scott says it was a wake-up call. Not that I wanted to lose, but I'm kind of glad we did. Because now we understand that we're not just going to win because we are the Winnipeg Sea Bears, or because we are in first place. Like, we still have to show up. We still have to perform. And he said that is going to pay dividends because it happened in June and not in July or August, right? Mm-hmm. So for me with Scarborough, it's like, great, they're pulling it out. But like, one bad game in the playoffs, and if you do fall behind by a lot, like, how are you going to respond? even more so, what if you fall that first game? Because if they're going to host, like if they are the top seed, the way the playoff structure works this year, it's a best of 3. So the lower seed, so let's just say hypothetically it's Winnipeg and Scarborough, because they're the 2 top teams in the conference right now. As it stands today, Winnipeg would play game 1 in Winnipeg, and then the series would move to Scarborough for games 2 and 3. But if you drop that game, especially like if that were the scenario, like it's not like you're playing in Saskatoon or Calgary or even Edmonton. You're playing in what would be the Mecca. And I'm not just saying that because I call play-by-play for the Sea Bears. I think everybody would agree it is the Mecca of the CEBL. So it's not like I'm trying to, I'm not trying to make something out of nothing here, but that's like the one thing I think I would be a little bit worried about if I'm Scarborough. It's just like they haven't really faced a lot of adversity where it has to sit with them for 24, 48, 72 hours, right? And fester and see how that, because vibes are high in Scarborough. We see them dancing after every game, they're having fun. And I'm just curious as to what happens when they lose a game or 2 games. They nearly lost to Montreal and Ottawa this year. They did lose to Ottawa, actually. That was one of their 2 losses. So, I mean, this is a team where I'm like, I'm curious how they bounce back when they finally see some adversity, if they do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you were saying about other teams in the East, like there are some teams that can really catch you if you start playing them and you're sleeping. Like looking at a team like Ottawa, it's like, yeah, they're, what was it, 7-8, 1 game under 500. It's like, but they got Matthew Cleveland, Javonte Smart in their team.
Dude,
it's like wild. You can't count, like either of those guys could score 35 on you in a game easily and knock you out. There you go. And I also think it's going to be really interesting to see how Scarborough adjusts, losing Charles Bediako for Summer League, going to the Chicago Bulls. I think that's a huge loss in the interim for them. I think that he provides so much insulation for them, lets guys just do other things. I think, as Tyler says here, I think that's going to be a loss that really changes like how free flowing their team has been able to be, especially offensively. And I don't know. It's the kind of, if I'm Scarborough, like I'm thinking, obviously, things really couldn't have gone too much better at this point, but I wouldn't count my chickens yet either.
No, and it's and the thing is too is like even for the Sea Bears, like things have been going relatively well. But they've battled the adversity, right? And like I think the other thing too is what I really like about this version of the Sea Bears is there isn't a ton of panic, right? And even because Mike Rainbow does a great job at this, because I'd asked him, is this I think it was after the 4th loss, right? Because like I think 3 of the 4 losses were 1 possession, and then the other one was 2 possessions. And my question was somewhere along the line of, are you frustrated that you're losing these tight games? And what his thing was like, no, not really, because you'll drive yourself nuts trying to figure out which possession was the one that lost you the game. And then he went on to say that the possession is what matters. Like that's the takeaway, is we can't be wasting possessions. We have to take care of the ball in both ends of the floor. You can't waste defensively. And we saw a little bit on both ends tonight, right? And it tends to happen on the road, but there's no panic. And I think even from last year, right? Even with the fan base, I don't sense the panic. I don't sense like, even with the Blue Bombers, I saw someone like a post that said something along the lines of like, panic button. And it's like, well, no, it's a little early in the season. But that happened here last year, right? Like every loss was under a magnifying glass and, where's so-and-so? What are they doing? How are we going to do this? Oh, the curse of the host team, right? All this other stuff. And this year they've just been able to elude it. Like there's been no real issues, in terms of teammates getting sour, getting frustrated. Even in practice, it seems supportive yet competitive. Like this isn't a team, like they're not like Kumbaya. It gets pretty intense in practices, but it seems that everybody's on board that this is to get guys better, right? And if we don't push each other, we're not going to perform when it matters. But this is a team that there's just a confidence, and I think it largely has to do with the coaching change for at least the fan base. It's just, new beginning, new era, promise, hope, all that stuff comes with that. But it's just there's an aura with this team that feels different. It feels more similar to year one, with way more talent. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I completely agree. For me, like just purely from a talent perspective, like even removing the actual results from a talent perspective, this is the best Sea Bears team that we've seen. It's the deepest team. They've got the star power. And yeah, just comparing it to previous iterations, I'm sure you could speak to this as well. My DMs this year versus my DMs last year from Seabears fans after games, drastically different experience. But you know what? If you look at the results, you can see why. This, like, their two worst losses this season are both by 6 points. Like, they're staying in every game. They're not getting blown out. Last year, it felt like the games that they were losing, you knew they were going to lose 5 minutes in. And it just hasn't been like that at all. Like, I don't think there's been a point in any game so far this year where I thought, yeah, we're cooked. Like, I don't know if we're doing this here. Like, it just always felt like, no, we're clawing back. We're keeping it around. Okay, if we can just keep it under 10, and then we do, it's just like it does not feel like this team is going to be easily just, pushed around or scared. This isn't a team that gets rattled. And I think that's inspiring so much confidence in the fan base, because, Winnipeg, obviously an incredible sports city in my view. I've told everybody, oh, listen, I think it's the best sports city in the world. You know what? The fans here, we do get scared. We really do. And we can push the panic button a little early, in my view. You saw it with the Bombers going 0-4 last year, as you said, to start the season. People are panicking. Everyone's losing it, firing, wants to fire everybody. No. Settle down. So that does happen with Winnipeg teams, I find sometimes, but I agree with you completely. This year, the fan base has been pretty chill. They've been, even after losses, like, okay, you know what? It's going to be all right. We're not worried. And I think it just speaks to the resolve this team has shown all year. They're battle tested. They have a bigger goal, and I think you can just see it.
I would say too, the one thing with this team is last year we had a lot of talent in Winnipeg. The Seabears had a ton of talented dudes. It felt like a lot of guys playing for their paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a lot of professional basketball players. It's not that they didn't want to win. Yeah. There was just a bit of a disconnect, it felt like, with the team. They played better on the road, but they didn't feed off the home crowd like we had seen in the past. But that is my only thing that has been, historic with this team. Like, now, they're in season 4. And the one thing that they've still not really been able to figure out is how to win on the road. Yeah. It's not as intense this year. Obviously, they already have like triple the wins or quadruple the wins that they did 2 years ago. Yeah. Remember 2 years ago, I think they won all but one home game and they lost all but one away game.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they've built on themselves here. I don't know the answer. Like, I don't. It's the way I see it is, and I want to bring this up actually, because here Dylan brought this up, and before I forget, I have the luxury and privilege to, be on the air in numerous cities across Canada. I've lived in numerous cities. I've lived, in Alberta. I've lived in Edmonton. I've lived in Regina, Winnipeg, Toronto, Northern Ontario. I've driven across this country from coast to coast, and I will say Winnipeg is the best sports city in Canada, and I don't even think it's close. I don't say there other cities are better in other areas. Like, I don't know if Winnipeg is the best NHL city from a fan base. I think it's more diehard in other areas in the country, but overall sports, it's not even close. I just wanted to say that. That said, though, I think that's perfect segue, because what I was getting at earlier was it's so charged at Canada Life Center. Mm-hmm. And what one player told me, I believe it was a player, might have been a couple years ago, but basically I was told, and I 100% agree with this, every team that comes to Winnipeg brings their best.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought it was crazy that Vancouver got blown out here, because this isn't a place, like, the Seabears don't have a ton of blowouts. Like, they've had a few, like 20 points. I think 33 has to be the biggest one that they've ever had, but they don't typically blow out teams at home. And I think that's because guys come in here, they're stoked to play. It's the NBA, like I said before, the mecca of the CBL. You get that NBA feel. Your tape looks great. Your Phoebes hype reels look lit because you've got like the best videographers. You've got the best setting. So guys come out and play their best game. Winnipeg does a great job. And I don't think that understates Winnipeg. Like, to win at home is hard. They make it look easy, but it's not. Like, you have to play your best every game. And, the shine wears off a little bit, as opposed to every other team coming here once or twice a year. Like, it's always there. So when I look at that, I think that Winnipeg comes in, has to beat the teams at their best, but they really have to figure out how to get fired up on the road. And I honestly think that's something they're all trying to figure out. Like, there's just, they all know it. They'll all tell you they have to be better, and they have to come out with, more urgency early on. But this isn't a Mike Rainbow thing. It was through the Mike Taylor era, and we're realizing now that, like, I don't know if it has anything to do with coaching, but maybe they need a sports psychologist. I don't know, but there's got to be something in the weeds here that they can figure out, that when we land in Edmonton or we land in Calgary, and that's the thing too, when you play in the places like Brampton, where they don't have as many people out there, you're playing in a half empty, stadium, or in Scarborough, where it kind of feels like, I like it because it kind of looks like the Drew League. It looks a little underground,
cool too, but
it looks like a high school gym. Like, let's be real, right? And I think that's hard to get up for as a pro, especially if you're coming off a game in Winnipeg. But I don't know what the magic sauce is, but I think, it's funny because they play great in the middle, right? And in stretches of the middle where they can kind of erase a bad start or give themselves a pad at target time. At home, these don't exist. They've lost one tip-off at home, right? Like, so right off the top, they're getting that first possession. They usually score. Target time has been overwhelmingly quick at home when they have the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're on the road, it's just not there. It's the starts and the finishes in the same game. So it makes it even more impressive when they're able to pull out a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Like,
and they're 4-5 away. Like, they're almost 500, but they've not lost at home. They're 6-0.
For sure. Yeah. You know what? But they're still able to keep it close. Like, in the previous years, like I still feel like there's been a step forward for sure. I do think that there's some more figuring out to do, definitely, as far as how do we keep this up on the road? How do we transfer our performances from home to the road? But you know what? In previous years, it just felt like right off the bat, it would be slow starts. It would be like, it almost felt like they just didn't have like their wind under their sails in a lot of their first few games. Dylan, I could not agree more. I love your comment here.
Hold on, I'm going to follow it up with this one. Yo, thanks Ty and Dill for keeping the comments. This is like the most fun of a live show. I've never had to do this before. This is fun.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. Once you start doing it, I'm really excited to keep going with all the rest of these. It's going to be one heck of a season, I think, to wrap up the rest of this. Like, especially, you know what, we got a lot of home games though in this next.
We got to figure that out. We definitely have to figure out how to do the home games. It'll be a little bit of work, but I think we can make it happen, Vic. I think we can. But sorry, here's Dylan putting us off with the slat bomb or Joey bombs, whatever you guys call them. And sorry, that was my fault. I had to put it up here. But
of course, absolutely.
I also want to say, Tyler, sorry, move Scarborough to TD Coliseum, which he's saying Hamilton. They've built their new stadium. And I'm curious, right? Because now that's like, I wouldn't say like it's not a rumor with any traction, but like people are talking about it is what I'm saying. Speculation of just like, well, Hamilton had the Honey Badgers. So for newer fans, if you weren't following the league before Winnipeg came in, it was funny because the first year Winnipeg was here, Brampton had a ring ceremony for a ring that they won in Hamilton. So they won a championship and they had to move because the old Cops Coliseum went through major renovations. They weren't the only team. They lost they had an OHL team, Ontario Hockey League team. The Toronto Rock had to move. They went to Brampton. And now it's there. Team Canada's playing there. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander playing on his own court, which I thought was hilarious and awesome. Like, what a flex. Yeah, this is my court, SGA Legacy court.
That's sweet.
But now it's there. So yeah, that's a little shade. I like a little salty shade coming from Ty on the Scarborough TD Coliseum. Who knows? I don't think Scarborough is going to move. Like, I do feel like Scarborough's got like, they've got some backing, man. Like, this is like OVO, Drake affiliations. Drake is going to games. Like,
once the Owls disappear, then maybe I'm starting to worry about it. Yeah,
totally. The other thing too is like they were supposed to build like a medium size, like a 5,000 seat or something like that, like a beautiful event center. And I don't know what's happening. I don't think it's happening anymore. But that was the plan. So they weren't supposed to play where they are full time, but they are. And I do think it kind of hits like that whole kind of hip hop vibe. Like, let's be fair. Like, they've got the coolest merch in all of the league, man. Like when they had, what's that guy Drewski wearing the varsity jacket, like the OVO, and I was like, ooh, that's nice.
They make it work, I think. You know what? And I think even like on the broadcast, I think it helps. You got Rod Black, recognizable guy in the commentary for the Scarborough games and stuff a lot of the time. I think that's a part of it as well. But you know what? Yeah, I don't think that, with their home court and everything, I don't think they were dealt the best hand. But you know what? I really do think they've made it work, at least for me. Like, I have had people say things to me as well about Scarborough and about the building. But for me, it works. It's got a cool vibe. I kind of like it. It's, I think if I was thinking, and again, I don't want to throw any shade either, but if I was thinking of a team that's potentially going to end up in Hamilton again, I do think it would probably be our friends in Brampton, if I had to guess.
Okay, so that's perfect. So I just want to bring that one up, but this is another one that came up. Oh, wrong one. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah. So if we are fortunate to have Target Score Brampton as part of the Target Score network, and I will say this: like it's been a struggle in Brampton, but I think it was kind of a bit of a fumble from the get go. Brampton's a tough market. It's like one of the biggest cities in Canada, but it's a suburb. Like it's a city that. It's not a Winnipeg, right? Like my wife is from Brampton. I spend time in Brampton. It's
Great
a commuter.
town.
Well, it's a commuter city though, right? Like it's not. They've not had a lot of teams. Like they've had, they had some junior hockey teams and some AHL teams, maybe at some or ECHL teams, here and there. It's a tough market. And the other thing too is when they moved from a team that had established itself in another city. Again, they didn't leave Hamilton because it was bad. They had to. If they wanted to stay there, I personally would have liked to have seen them drop the honey. Like the Brampton Badgers would have been like, maybe change the color scheme a little bit, but they just stuck with the exact same brand. It's kind of like the Memphis Grizzlies, right? When they first went from Vancouver to Memphis, they didn't change anything other than they took Vancouver off and they put Memphis on. And that's kind of what we saw with Brampton. So Brampton has... Talking to the guys there, like I've been to a game in Brampton. It was a weird one. It was a school day game, so I didn't really get like the true vibe.
Yeah.
But like I talked to the guys in Brampton, and one of the things that they tell me is, with Al Whiteley there and the new ownership, Leonard Asper, David Asper's brother, the owner of the Sea Bears, his brother is the primary owner of the Honey Badgers. Like, and then they added Mark Cuban, right?
Cuban mix, yeah.
Yeah, and like here's the thing, my thing with Mark Cuban. I know some people might think it's a publicity stunt or whatever. Mark Cuban doesn't give a care about the city of Brampton or the Honey Badgers. He sees a low buy with a high return, right? So whether that's in Brampton or somewhere else, there's a reason why he bought in. And yes, it helps that he has the connections with with the Whiteley, who was with the Mavs when they won, and he's connected to Leonard Asper and other business ventures or whatever it is. So I get that. And, and I'm not trying to bright side this, but like, I don't think Mark Cuban's just like, I'm going to go try and save a random team. Like Mark Cuban is an investor and he puts his money in things that he thinks are going to succeed down the road. The other thing I was told is just the professionalism and seriousness that's brought into every element, right? Like they're on top of things like the ushers. They're on top of things like, like concessions, and they've made it a price point. It takes time. It's a hard marketing thing. And one of the things I think the league could do better at is the marketing, right? Like away from, what do they call it? Out of home marketing? Like where you're not just social media or on the network that you're on. Like there's been a lot more commercials on CBC throughout the day and things like that. But I think it's one of the things I'd like to see is just from a league standpoint, we see a little bit more, whether it's billboards or, buses, whatever. Like let us know that the team's in town, there's games coming up. That'd be great. But with Brampton, like I wouldn't count them out yet. I think this is, if they did pick up and leave this year, let's just say this, like I'm not, and again, I want to be absolutely clear. I'm not saying they're leaving, but let's just say hypothetically they did. I don't think you could blame them because at the end of the day, they have, gate to protect and, money to make, and they are putting a lot into it this year. I mean, they were doing some very, interesting, like networking things from a business perspective. Like they're really trying to get the community involved. I will say even on TV, despite them being, one of the lower attendance venues, there's a vibe there this year, man. Like, and the other thing I like is they're putting all of them on the camera side. So it looks better on TV. People are getting into it.
Sports when they don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's like, they're doing a lot of things right. And I do feel like, give it some time. It's a tough market to crack. I mean, a lot of teams have left Brampton. Like, leave it there. The Brampton Beast, come and gone. Brampton Battalion, come and gone. So, it's not off the table, that's for sure. But again, I also think they're looking at other Southern Ontario markets, right? Like clearly here's where they want to go, just based on how we've seen them roll out. They want to go to Quebec City.
Yeah.
They've had an all-star game in Quebec City that was really well attended, considering it was a bunch of players no one knew and a team that they didn't have. It was 2 East versus West, and it was great.
Yeah.
Kelowna. They weren't in Kelowna just for fun, right? Like they're trying to test those other markets. I'm not going to say Lethbridge and Red Deer. I think that's more of like a Jason Ribeiro Calgary Surge thing, trying to just grow their own brand.
Growing the brand in Alberta kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but they've got like Burlington, Ontario is building an event center that is like tailor-made for, CBL level. And they even say in their release that they hope to get Canada basketball there, right? What better way than get the Canadian Pro League there full time in the summers would be something. I know, London, their team got out of the Super League this year.
Yeah,
so that market seems open.
Jamal, former team there in London. Yeah. Actually,
Jamal Murray, I heard the rumor that he would like, to get a team in Kitchener, and there's a lot of like smaller markets in Ontario that would do well, and they've got the facilities, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting. I think that for a place like Brampton, I agree with you. Like, I think from my friends in the Brampton organization, awesome people there. I think they're doing a great job. No, okay. So this is bad time because I was actually, me and Dylan discussed this recently. But you know what? If you look at Brampton, I worry a little bit about the history there of like, every couple of decades the OHL tries it again. And it is, yeah, I don't know. It's mixed results, I'd say. I don't know. I think that's the one to watch, but I agree with you. Definitely not time to call that yet or anything at all. There's a lot of awesome people doing awesome things there. But yeah, like as far as I think expansion is more likely than relocation here in the next little bit. And I think Kelowna would be a great market, as you mentioned. I think obviously, yeah, like as you were talking, already had a game there, but the CFL had a very successful game there too. That's a great sports town. That was just yesterday. So yeah, going out west, Quebec City, lots of markets in Ontario. I don't know how some of the Western Canada people would feel about more teams in Ontario.
Well, that's it.
I have a problem with, but I've heard a lot about that for sure.
Well, you got to think too, right? And Tyler saying Guelph might be interested. The Calgary Surge used to be the Guelph Nighthawks, and they moved to Calgary. That was part of an initiative under Mike Morreale and that regime that they wanted to get into the big city centers, and they've done that. The only one missing is the Maritimes, like Halifax getting a team, and I don't even know if it has to be Halifax. Like, can it be Moncton? Can it be, like the East Coast has some great venues as well for junior hockey that they can easily, use for basketball in the summers. We've had teams in St. John's and Newfoundland before that didn't work out for arena reasons or release reasons. I don't know what it was, but didn't work out nonetheless. But yeah, yes, for sure. Like people in the West don't want to see teams in Ontario, but there's got to be balance, right? So it's not like they're just going to put all these Ontario teams and have no one in the West. Like, Kelowna, I can see getting up and running pretty quick. Victoria is another market that I can, like, they're basketball crazy. If you've ever seen the Vikes, the Victoria Vikes are one of the most storied programs in basketball. I know Carleton has all the national titles as of recent, but like, Carleton's run in the grand scheme of U Sports, CIAU, whatever it was before, CIS, is like, theirs were in like this time frame. They just won a ton over 20 years. And then before that, Carleton was nothing until Dave Smart, right? And it's Victoria, and not to like be all like schooly on it, but like, Victoria are the guys that had the Eli Pasquales of the world, who worked with the Steve Nashes of the world when they were kids and inspired him to become a 2-time MVP. Steve Nash alone being from Victoria, and like he would have all kinds of interest in that. They've got a junior hockey arena, and it gets to the point where you wonder, like, okay, can you do it in a way that you have maybe like a BC division, kind of like they do in U Sports. Like BC has its own division, then it's like the rest of the West, like, the Albertas, Saskatchewans, Manitobas. Another thing that, I don't think this will come to fruition, but I always like dream about it. I was talking about to Mike Morreale, like this would have been like year 1 or 2 when he was commissioner. And what I was asking him was, do you see a world where there's a WCBL, like a women's league, and how would that work? And he said, it's not that we don't want that. Like, obviously, like we would love to jump on women's sports and like, talking about the timing, like just how it's blowing up, and it would be a good time. But the problem is they're not going to play in the winter. Like, because in the winter, that's when all the hockey teams are playing, and arena time's harder to come by. It's harder to get the courts on. And in the summer, the WNBA is there, right? Like the beauty of the CBL is we get a lot of great talent because the NBA and the G League are in their off season. So it's easier to get those guys out here. So what he was saying was, there's like a better chance that they would get a Division 2. Now, if you look at most of European leagues, there's multiple divisions, right? And they have like relegation and stuff. Now, I'm not like, we didn't get that much in the weeds, and he wasn't saying like these are plans we're going to follow through on either, but it was just like he brought that up as just like basketball and other areas have like a Division 2. So if we wanted to get into those smaller markets, is there a way that we have a D2, right? Where maybe like a Brandon gets a basketball team, and like Regina could also probably get a CBL team, and that's another rumor with Saskatoon and whatever else. But then you wonder, like, is there a world where where you don't have to worry about oversaturating the top division, but you can give more opportunities for development for other people? Again, this was just speculation and fun conversation, but it's one of those things that I think about. I'm like, can you imagine all these like smaller WHL communities or OHL or QMJHL that, support their hockey teams? Like, can you get a couple thousand people out, or not even a couple? Can you get 1,000 people out? Can you get like 800 people out to watch, a Division 2 and, create some revenue that way? But I think realistically, like, the league is still getting its footing. This is year 8, whole new regime. I'm really curious what happens next year once they've got a year under their belt. But I would imagine the growth is going to be Kelowna, maybe another team in Ontario. The Quebec stuff has just kind of died down a lot. I think they had a lot of interest at first, and I don't know what happened along the way. But
2 years ago, I thought it was already like in the works. I thought it was going to happen.
To be fair, like, that was, I think the league thought that too. Like, I think like everything was in it. I don't know if the ownership group couldn't get it together, whatever. No, Dylan, I don't think Whitehorse is going to be the next expansion, though they will get at least 2 more games over the next 2 years. And for those that haven't seen, Whitehorse hosted a neutral site game between Calgary and Saskatoon. Really cool. It was a very challenging arena to have a pro basketball game in. They got it done. What's that?
Tough camera angles, but the vibes were great.
I would love to see them take down the glass, the hockey glass. That was a tough one. I could deal with the angle. The glass is a lot, but it's really cool. At the end of the day, that wasn't for us. That wasn't for the viewers. That was for, basketball going across the provincial border, getting into the territories. First ever pro basketball game played in the territories. I thought it was really cool, and I'm not going to lie, I was very jealous of the broadcasters that got to go out there, because I'd love to go visit Whitehorse and call the game out there. But no, I don't think I don't think they're testing expansion, Dylan, though that would be awesome. And I got to bring this up because Dylan is also a Brandon guy. So now, now I'm not totally convinced that Dylan has not abandoned whatever future plans he has to go and create the infrastructure for pro basketball in Brandon. Hey, maybe Ilarian Bonham, head coach of the Bobcats women's basketball team out of Brandon University. He's already got some experience in the pros now. Maybe you bring Gil Chung over as well from the men's team. Like, it's all there, Dylan. That's all I'm saying, buddy.
The infrastructure's there, man. A lot of the infrastructure's there. They got the history. They got a bunch of guys who have, like, how many people have come through there and been great coaches? Yeah, right. Dylan's loving this, but Brand's a heck of a basketball town, man.
Okay. Let's further the Brandon if you want. All right, Everybody settle in. Here's story time with Uncle Joe. No, but the best part is the Brandon connection to this team in Winnipeg right now. Like, this current team, head coach, born, bred in Brandon, played his basketball there, got his coaching start in Brandon. Jeremy, the assistant coach, Walenga, another guy, grew up with Mike Rainbow in Brandon, played basketball, coached together. Now he's coaching out in Fort McMurray at Keanu College, national champion. Mike Rainbow won a national championship with UNBC before they came into U Sports. They were still in the NCCA, not the NCAA, NCCA. And Ilarian Bonham, who is American, came to Brandon to play his university basketball and stayed after he finished professionally, now coaching the Brandon women's team and coaching here. So 3 of the 4 coaches have one assistant, 3 assistants, 1 head. The 4 coaches, 3 of them are from Brampton, from Brandon. They are from Brandon. And the other one, Alex Campbell, from Brampton, actually, but is coaching out in Saskatchewan as well. So really cool to see the Western guys and the Brandon connection here in Winnipeg. So the next time you're going to hate on Brandon, just remember who's running the Winnipeg Sea Bears and having a pretty successful season at this point, past the halfway point, first place in the West.
I love Brandon, man. Oh, yeah, you'll never hear me hate on Brandon. That's for sure. Great talent, man. And you know what? And I'll say this right now: there's a lot of markets right now in the CBL where you're looking at games and 1,500, 2,000 people and that kind of stuff. Man, I don't know. You're telling me you don't think Brandon could put 2,000 people in 12 times a year for a CBL game?
Well, I think so. Like I'm not, because the other thing too, right? Especially in the current landscape, Regina doesn't have a team.
Yeah.
That's a pretty easy drive from Regina. If you wanted to come to Regina for a game, then you have the two choices. You can go to Saskatoon or there. I know, like, but weren't they having issues? Like, again, this is me just kind of speaking out of school, but like, didn't they have some attendance issues with the Wheat Kings, which blows my mind because that's like one of the heritage teams in Canadian junior hockey. So like, maybe there are some things. I think with them, the hard part would be when the shine wears off. Like, I think the first couple of years would be great, but like, can they sustain it if they have some losing seasons or if the basketball isn't? Because I do think at D2, like, you're going to have some stinkers. Like, it's we're really good in the CBL right now. I don't think we needed Div 2, but again, as we're in our little Dylan dream world of talking about it, that would be my concern. But I totally think they can. I mean, we go to a Brandon basketball game, like Brandon University, like it's well attended. Their volleyball scene though is what's like blowing up out there. But I think you could do it, especially like Brandon is such the university is such an athletic school and a big basketball and court sports school that I think just with the support from the school and how much that community supports, like from sponsorship and advertising and all the dollars out there, like the city would get behind it for sure, I would imagine.
Yeah, I do think that, as far as like the Wheat Kings and attendance stuff, I'm not an expert on the situation. I do think that there's some other factors there that are kind of aside from just selling tickets for the WHL and just from, I'm no expert on it, but like I do think that there's some other stuff at play there. But either way, I would love to see the Sea Bears do something like what Calgary does. Why don't we play a game out in Brandon? I think that kind of stuff would be cool, even if it's an exhibition game, like you see Vancouver do. A couple of other teams have done preseason style exhibition games. I would love to see the Sea Bears go out there, and I get it for just population reasons. It's probably unlikely that we see any other CBL teams in Manitoba. Why don't we make this Manitoba's team? I'm not saying you change the team name or anything, but I'm saying that like, why don't you? Like I think that kind of stuff could be absolutely huge for the brand, and I think that I think a lot of folks in small towns, like when they see a big team like that, or something, go out there and show them some love. I think that kind of stuff gets reciprocated, and I don't know. I think the Sea Bears would do well to have a game out there.
Just want to point out that Dylan is already planning his Div 2 teams with Alarian. So I love that. I love that for you, Dylan. Okay. I'm going to be a bit of a damp towel here, Vic. I hate to do this. I think the difference is Winnipeg gets 6,000 fans a game.
Yeah.
Now there's probably some cost savings if there's like one less game at Canada Life Center, but I don't know how that contract works. Like, so are they just paying the same regardless if they go somewhere else? I've thought about the exhibition game. There you have traction for sure.
Yeah.
Because I even thought like Steinbach, like they've got this beautiful like new rink, and I was there for the Grand Slam of curling, and like I thought, I'm like, wow, that'd be really cool. Like it would, even from an exhibition standpoint, like it would still look awesome. A town like Steinbach would show up. Now, and further to that, you called the Manitoba's team, and you're right. I think that is part of the branding. Like, yes, they're the Winnipeg Sea Bears. They play in Winnipeg. They play for this city, but they're the Sea Bears. There's no polar bears here outside of Assiniboine Park, right? But Manitoba is the polar bear capital of the world through Churchill.
Right.
I would
buggy, all
what's that?
Got the Tundra buggy at the down the court. It's like I feel like they're starting to kind of open up to that.
Totally. Now they've done camps in Brandon. They've sent players out to these places. So like the groundwork's being done. I think the issue, if you have an exhibition game, it's you only have 10 days of preseason, right? And Vancouver brings a local team to their gym. They're not taking it on the road. All of the games of neutral site are Calgary, even though they play Edmonton every time. Edmonton's not leaving theirs because they're getting, thousands of people on average as well. They're one of the higher attended venues in the league. So Calgary goes out to kind of grow their brand, and they're not missing much if they miss a couple of games a year at home, right? Saskatoon was the home team in that Whitehorse game. Again, another team that struggles with attendance.
Yeah.
So like I want to see it. I'm not saying like don't do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing after the Whitehorse game, I'm like, can we not have a game in Churchill?
That
Like think of the weird games you've had, right? Like in terms of like not the Sea Bears, but just like games we've seen on like, warships and, on beaches and whatever else. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be indoors. We saw an outdoor CBL game last year in Montreal. It didn't go well because of the rain. But the attempt was there and it looked awesome before the weather screwed it all up. So is there a cool game you could play in Churchill? Like that'd be fun. Sign up a deal with Via Rail or, and have a, document the train ride out there and what it takes to get out there, whatever. You could be creative, like the Grey Cup and the 100th anniversary where they had it on the Via Rail and was touring the country. Like maybe you could do something like that. I wouldn't count it out. I just don't think it would ever be, there's no way it's a regular season game. I just think it's too lucrative. Not that I shouldn't say it's lucrative, but like, I think it's needed, like the cost of running that team is crazy. And I don't think there's a luxury in Winnipeg where they can just be like, we're going to play a game in July, a special July 1st game in Brandon or in Churchill or in Steinbach or whatever. But an exhibition game for sure. It would have to be Saskatoon, and that's not an easy hike for them either, right? Like that's your closest team. Can you do
BU? Could you do BU?
That's what I was going to say. Can you do Brandon? Can you do like a tournament with Lakehead, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Brandon, or something like that? Or like maybe you have a tournament with them, like just like a pre or an off-season tournament between those teams, and then you make like an all-star team with those guys, and that could be your first preseason game. So the court is there. You have maybe you hold, instead of holding training camp at Sport Manitoba, maybe you strike a deal with the city of Steinbach that they fund everything so that, fans can come watch your training camp. And, maybe you have like a little tournament around there too, where they could watch some U Sports. It helps grow the U Sports game. And then maybe you could do between the 3 schools or the 4 schools, you can say, okay, we're going to take 3 guys from each school or whatever. And you guys are going to be like the U Sports All-Stars against, the Sea Bears for a tune-up game before the actual first game of the year. That could work.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think that however they managed to do it, I just think that the market would be there. I think it would do well. I think the community would be super excited about it. Really, I'd be super open to it. But I totally agree with you though that I think that since the Sea Bears are the only team in the league that would be guaranteed to lose attendance in any sort of out of market game, it does probably make it untenable. But yeah, if any sort of exhibition game. I really honestly think that they probably just couldn't mess that up. Like providing that obviously it worked for all parties involved as far as like the teams that were playing in it. I think it would crush out in Brandon. I really do.
I also just want to quickly shout out the national game today was in Vancouver. So target score Vancouver's Chris Wiggins was on the national broadcast on the sideline reporting. So congrats, Chris. It was awesome to see you out there, Wiggy. I loved it. Let's just take a look at the schedule here before we log off. How do I do this now? This is the fun part when you're live, figuring it out on the go. That's why I got to redo it. Okay, where's it? Boom. And here we go. Welcome along the Joey adventures of trying to figure out technology. All right, so Sea Bears have now won 2 in a row. Hey, look at how many games are in the 100 too, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of century marks. So they are averaging over 100 points a game, but it's kind of fun to see. So yeah, beat the Stingers. They play the Stingers again on Thursday. That's the Space Jam night / WPW night. So I'm pretty stoked about that one. If anybody knows me or follows me on Instagram, I've rediscovered wrestling since moving to Winnipeg. And I pretty much only watch WPW. So I'm all in on that. Pretty pumped to see the jerseys out there, the Space Jam jerseys for the 30th anniversary, which makes me feel old. Vic, do not say anything.
That's the real Space Jam movie, man. 100%. I'm glad to do it with the actual Space Jam movie. Just want to throw that out there. That's also rage baiting good old Dylan there in the comment. Anyways, I will say about that Thursday game, on top of being WPW night, and everything else, it's also potentially the moon landing. We could see. You never know.
That's the $1 million question. Is this the moon landing? My gut tells me it is, but we will not know for sure until tip off, or at least when the final rosters have to be in. But if we get Xavier Moon on Thursday against the Stingers, I'd be hard pressed to see Winnipeg taking an L at home after not taking one all season. Because to quote Chris Wiggins, who was the guest host on Target Score Winnipeg this week, I'm not going to use the word because there's probably children listening. I mean, Dylan is kind of a child, Tyler as well. He's going to be shot out of an effing cannon. He is pent up.
He's going to be ready to go.
He said he's preparing, like any other game. I don't believe him. Sorry, Xavier Moon, I don't believe you. I think this one's going to be a tough one for you. Dylan telling me to chill. Where's the streak? So that to me is the game everybody's watching, which is weird because then you got like Calgary at 2-13, but that is the first national game of the season. I'll be on the sidelines for that on CBC. And that's another one. No, the other thing, Calgary has a game in between, but my thing with that one is we just saw Calgary beat Vancouver in Vancouver, and I don't think you could take them lightly right now. Like Calgary is now entering the dangerous zone of I have nothing to lose. All the stress is gone. This season's a wash. And those are the teams sometimes you got to be looking out for. So I anticipate Winnipeg wins that one, but I also anticipated Vancouver was going to win today too. And they did not. So Calgary, and then we get into the next week. We won't get too far, but yeah, Saskatoon, Calgary. And I'll say this, like kind of looking at the rest of the schedule, my danger games are this window right here, the Calgary at home, but I'm actually more concerned about Saskatoon on the road where Winnipeg has already lost.
Yeah.
Calgary on the road feels like a trap game. Then you've got Montreal coming in, who has historically been competitive here. Not one, but they're a good team, and they are going to be come July 19th. There's only a couple weeks left in the season at that point, so they're going to be a hungry team. And then this one, who knows? Because who knows what Vancouver is going to do with guys gone to summer league. Same with Brampton, but there's some trap games in here. And then, yeah, the last two games, Ottawa and Vancouver. Lot of potential traps, but I'm not worried come this part of the year if they take care of these games. If they take care of Calgary, Saskatoon, and Calgary, at that point you would be 13-5. I think I had predicted they would be 15-4, 14-5. I can't remember what my prediction was, but somewhere in that range. So, and I said if they get that, they're going to lock up the at least second place in the West, and I might actually think they would take the West totally right now. So yeah, there are some trap games for sure. The Cheney revenge game, I would be worried about that. That's the other thing. Armani Cheney is going to come back with a vengeance and on national TV.
Guys love killing it against us. Like every time, like Davion Warren looked like Michael Jordan in that game against us in Montreal. There, it's just like it happens. Like I think that once guys play here for a while and then they end up somewhere else, I feel like they just want to kill us when they play against us.
Well, totally. Davion Warren, and he you could tell he was not pulling any punches on Instagram. Like he was putting some, not a lot of secret messaging going on with how he felt about the end of his tenure here in Winnipeg. And he's a great player. So that's another motivation. Great pickup for Montreal. Another team that looked like they lost their best player and somehow got better. Maybe it's the Patrick Ewing effect. Who knows? But yeah, like teams like they tend to go out and have something to prove. My thing with Armani Cheney is he seems reinvigorated. He's their top point guard there. Like there's no, he's not starting some games. He's not behind anybody. He's been given the keys and, he's playing for tape. He's playing for his next contract. But dude, that's a guy that's gone through a lot of adversity. And I anticipate that game going to be a very good one. The only thing I think might work against him, he might be over excited. Like where you're, this ain't hockey, gripping the stick too tight. But I don't think that'll happen. I think he'll be, the national TV thing is just like an added, little cherry on top. So I can not only get my revenge on the team that released me, I can prove my point and do it in front of an entire country, which is pretty cool. So we'll see that. So let's just go over here the final stats of this game. The leading scorers. Yeah, there are two players. Trey King was the leading scorer for Edmonton with 18. Emmanuel, Bandamel had 17 and Hornsby had 16. Stanley Davis Jr. Good scoring game from Edmonton. And keep an eye out because they are playing them on Thursday. And then, for Winnipeg, 35 points for Teddy Allen again, 23 for Emmanuel Acott. Trey McGowan's had 10. Isaiah Osborne had 12, including the target score winner. Jeremiah Tillman Jr. had 11. And I just want to double check here. I think he only had 3 fouls. A game where there wasn't an intense amount of pressure on Jeremiah Tillman Jr. to stay in the game.
Everybody else was in foul trouble too. So
totally. Teddy had 4. Teddy did that with 4 fouls for like a good chunk of that fourth quarter. So so that's a good game from the Sea Bears. The final score again, 100-98, and they play again on Thursday. Any final thoughts, Vic?
You know what? I cannot wait for Thursday. Whether Moon's in it or not, it's going to be an absolutely great game. Just with everything, Space Jam, wrestling, it's going to be absolutely awesome. Joey, I have to ask you though, can I get a quick plug in here really quick?
100%.
Okay.
Follow. Yeah. Like, tell us where we find you here. Sorry, we should have done this off the top. I just assume everybody follows Winnipeg Sports Weekly.
Not even for that. I want to say I got a really cool thing in the works right now at the Sea Bears. July 19th, that Montreal game is it's going to be Winnipeg Sports Weekly night. The link is going to be in the bio on Winnipeg Sports Weekly for discounted tickets in like 10 minutes after this show. Just got sent it over not long ago. So all the tickets will be kind of in the same section. We'll have a spot to hang out before the game. If you want to chat, not saying I'm like a celebrity, like it's not a meet and greet or anything.
Wow. You're being too humble here.
You want to talk basketball, want to talk Winnipeg sports, and just kind of sit together, have a great time and watch a great game. And just go tap the link in my story after this.
Handles. Where can they find you?
At Winnipeg Sports Weekly. Everywhere. Winnipeg, mostly on Instagram, but going to be expanding a little bit more there. I've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming out for this summer. I honestly, guys, just kind of moved here. My wife and I just moved, so we've got a lot more in the works. Kind of once we get set up, where we're building a studio space, and we got some really, really fun stuff on the horizon. Well,
congrats on the move. Give Vic and Winnipeg Sports Weekly a follow. I got to figure out how to get Target Score night on there. Target Score podcast. That's unreal, man. Good for you. That's sick.
I'll text you after.
All right. Well, we'll figure that out. We're going to get that in. Everybody who tuned in live, thank you so much. If you're watching this in replay, hope you had a good time. We're going to try to do this at least for every road game. We'll try to get some home games in here. But again, this was our soft launch. Didn't really promote it until like 5 minutes before we went to air. So appreciate all of you that tuned in and stayed in. Our texters of the night, Dylan and Tyler. Tyler, or we'll just put one more for Tyler because, Tyler likes to give me digs too. I'm sorry. Did I just get chirped by a guy getting demoted next weekend? Get out of my life, Tyler. You're a big meanie, and I will see you. I'll see you at the scores table next week. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. This was the Target Score post-game live show. We will have more. Make sure you're following us at Target Score Pod on YouTube, at Target Score Podcast. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts, and I am at Joey Slattery TV, like Vic. Love talking basketball. I try to get to all of the messages, and if I don't get to them, I'm really sorry. Sometimes you might hear from me like weeks later, but I try to get through them. So thank you very much for tuning into the inaugural episode. You're all part of history. We'll see you again next time. Until then, Vic, thank you. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.